Space Marines Part 3. Space Marine Combat Doctrine. The Space Marines of the Adeptus Astar-tees are the greatest fighting force of the Imperium of Man. Genetically enhanced to serve mankind as humanity's ultimate warriors, they are far stronger and more resilient than even the most exceptional unenhanced human beings. The majority of the Space Marine chapters operating within Imperial space are comprised of 1,000 Astar-tees organized into 10 companies of 100 warriors each. Every chapter is fiercely proud of its history and achievements, and each is marked out by its own distinctive colors and chapter heraldry. These colors and iconography were established at the time of each chapter's founding and are displayed with unadulterated pride upon all armor and vehicles owned by the chapter. These colors and iconography were established at the time of each chapter's founding and are displayed with unadulterated pride upon all armor and vehicles owned by the chapter. The war gear of the chapter is maintained with painstaking precision, and many items have been covered over the millennia in fine lines of intricate devotional script in High Gothic, with each line detailing a battle honor of the chapter won by a previous user of the weapon. Each chapter is commanded by an officer usually known as a chapter master, who holds a rank equivalent within the Imperial hierarchy to that of a Planetary Governor. Each chapter is a small, mobile army, and although each contains only 1,000 battle brothers, a chapter's actual combat potential is equivalent to at least 10 times that a number of normal troops drawn from the Astra Military, Imperial Guard. Each chapter has its own transports, support staff, armorers and chapter fleets of warships, and are intended to respond to any type of threat that can emerge anywhere in the galaxy. Because they are so mobile compared to other Imperial military units, the Space Marines are often the first servants of the Emperor to arrive at a scene of conflict, and they're used to mount deep strikes, raids, and devastating surprise attacks. The archetypal mission for which the Space Marines were created over 10,000 Terran years ago is the planet strike or planetary assault. Such an offensive begins with the Astar-tees chapter fleet engaging with and clearing away any defending starships and neutralizing the target world's orbital defenses, ground-based laser batteries, and missile silos. Enemy ground defenses are sabotaged by the chapter's scout marine forces or captured by full Astar-tees from its battle companies. Often the bulk of a Space Marine forces deployed to a planetary assault will deploy directly into battle, forcing a decisive engagement to take advantage of the considerable shock of their appearance upon the field. When the Space Marines arrive in this manner, they must deploy as rapidly as possible to maintain the element of surprise that plays such a crucial role for them in achieving battlefield success. To this end, Space Marine warships are equipped with hundreds of drop pods and large hangar bays filled with deadly Thunderhawk gunships. The contrails of these craft high in a world's atmosphere are often the only harbinger of a Space Marine assault. As the chapter's drop pods and Thunderhawks streak through the embattled sky towards their rendezvous with blood and fire, the enemies of the Emperor come to realize that the doom is at hand. The Space Marines always prefer to deploy right into the heart of the enemy's force and proceed to unleash a devastating barrage of bolter-fire. The initial shock of this assault can often break an enemy force before a campaign has barely begun, ending a rebellion or forcing an alien invader off-world in one fell stroke. These shock assaults are usually spearheaded by squads of Terminators drawn from a chapter's veteran First Company, who teleport directly into the heart of the foe's lines and are supported by heavier units like armored vehicles that have been delivered to the world's surface by Thunderhawk. Transporters. Each company of a chapter is able to field a mix of tactical, assault, and devastator squads depending on its type. An entire company of Astar-tees is rarely fielded as a tactical force. Instead, each Space Marine force is exactly tailored to the tactical requirements of the combat mission at hand, usually with elements drawn from the versatile battle companies. Such a force might consist of only 3 or 4 squads supported by individual squads drawn from other companies, as well as a complement of armored vehicles and dreadnoughts. This force will be led into combat by a captain, a senior veteran sergeant, a chaplain or a librarian who serves as the force commander. On very rare occasions, a Space Marine chapter will be called upon to carry out a mission or face an enemy of such size and power that it must deploy a large portion of its total strength. In these instances, forces consisting of 200 or even 300 Astar-tees and the supporting vehicles are not uncommon. Such a force is deployed only to those locations where the enemy's advance must be stopped at all costs. For instance, during the Second and Third Wars for Armageddon, it was determined by the High Lords of Terror that the Orc warlord, Gaz-Kulthraka, had to be prevented from extending his warg beyond that strategically located hive world lest his greenskin hordes gain footholds on more populous worlds in the Segmentum Solar and wreak absolute havoc on the Imperium's heart. As such, several legendary Astar-tees chapters like the Blood Angels, Salamanders, and Black Templars deployed several full battle companies in the supreme effort to halt the advance of the Orcs. Such was the skill that Armageddon became a new word for total war in the Orc culture. The nature of the Adeptus Astar-tees missions means that a chapter's various components may be spread across the galaxy at any one time, with individual detachments involved in separate conflicts thousands of light-years apart. It is very unusual for all 10 companies of a chapter to be gathered in the same place at the same time, and centuries can pass between gatherings of an entire chapter for a single mission. As a result, the deployment of an entire Space Marine chapter indicates the need to combat a threat that may rend the very fabric of the Imperium itself if left undefeated. As a result, the deployment of an entire Space Marine chapter indicates the need to combat a threat that may rend the very fabric of the Imperium itself if left undefeated. The deployment of such a force can only be requested by the High Lords of Terror and is led by the chapter master in person. Such a gathering of martial power can bring a fortress world to its knees, halt an alien invasion, or even hurl back a Black Crusade. Legendary, existential threats of the Emperor's realm such as the Helican Schism, the Macarian Heresy and the Tyrannic Wars have seen the need to call up entire chapters. Whole worlds have become shrines to remember the fallen of these conflicts. Each of these campaigns engulfed large regions of Imperial space and involved countless millions of troops, yet were ultimately decided only by the unmatched heroism of a relatively small number of the Emperor's Angels of Death, the Space Marines. Path of a Space Marine. Traditional progression. According to the original version of the Codex Astar-tees before the introduction of the Primaris Marines, Space Marines were organized into 3 main types of the squad: Tactical, Assault, and Devastator. Each of these squads has a unique battlefield role and is designed to operate together to provide mutual support and maximum flexibility. In addition to these 3 squad types, the first, Veteran, Company can be formed into Terminator or Veteran squads, while the Scouts of the 10th Company are always fielded as Scout squads. All Space Marine squad types, with the exception of the Scouts, normally consist of 10 Astar-tees, but they can be divided into 2 separate combat squads in battle. This gives each unit a further degree of flexibility in action. An aspirant who becomes a neophyte and is accepted into the chapter's ranks will serve in many roles, starting out as a young Scout Marine in the 10th Company and, if fate favors him, progressing through the ranks as an initiate and full battle brother of the chapter, serving as Devastator Marine, Assault Marine, Tactical Marine and, if he is exceptionally bold, eventually earning the honor of serving as a veteran in the elite 1st Company. A favored few excel even past this great honor and join the ranks of the chapter's officers, leading their fellows into the blood and fury of battle. The first step along the path to becoming a mighty hero of the chapter is service in one of the scout squads of the 10th Company. Scout squads consist of a veteran Space Marine sergeant and 4 to 9 Scout Marines. The role of the sergeant is to train the scouts and lead them in battle. Only sergeants of considerable experience and status are designated for this role. Scouts attend to every word the sergeant utters, for it is said that he has forgotten more of war than many more senior officers will ever learn. Whilst serving as a scout, a neophyte learns the most subtle arts of war. In a range of infiltration and reconnaissance missions, he learns how to approach and observe the enemy. Information gathered in such missions is passed back to the main battle force. The scouts get the first taste of combat by way of carefully placed ambushes, the scout sergeant drawing on centuries of experience to deploy his charges in such a manner as to teach him as valuable a lesson as the enemy. Unlike that enemy, the scouts learn valuable skills in such combats. The enemy earns nothing more than a quick death, for even a neophyte Space Marine is a potent warrior compared to a mortal man. A Space Marine serving in a Devastator squad may only recently have completed his service in the 10th Company and been accepted as a full initiate and battle brother of the chapter. It will be his first experience of fighting in power armor. When first assigned to such a squad, the Space Marine will bear a bolter and grenades and fulfill a support role within the squad, providing close support to those battle brothers armed with heavy weapons. Identifying targets and being close at hand to proffer ammunition and to take up the weapons of any who should fall. Only when he has proven himself steady and reliable in battle will the Space Marine be entrusted with one of the chapter's mighty heavy weapons, which he will come to master over the course of several hundred battles. Devastator squads consist of a sergeant and 9 Space Marines. Up to 4 Space Marines may be armed with heavy weapons, whilst the remainder will carry bolters. This is the most heavily armed type of Space Marine squad, and they're deployed wherever overwhelming firepower is needed, especially when the chapter faces enemy armor or fortified positions. Having proved himself steadfast and disciplined in the Devastator squads, a Space Marine will in time earn himself a place in his company's assault squads. Here the Space Marine comes to master the application of overwhelming force, taking the fight directly to the enemy's strong points. He embraces the controlled savagery of close combat and looks his enemy in the eye as he deals him death. Assault squads are specialists at fighting in hand-to-hand combat. Each squad consists of a sergeant and 9 Space Marines, all equipped with jump packs and armed with a close combat weapon in each hand. Common armament consists of a bolt pistol and a chainsword. Optionally, 2 of the Space Marines may carry plasma pistols. This combination is ideal for fast-attacking, close-quarter fighting assault troops. Even though tactical squads are the most common type of squad in any chapter, to earn a place in one a Space Marine must have proven himself both courageous and wise in battle. Throughout his service in the Devastator and Assault squads, he will be proven adaptable in his approach to the arts of war and will have mastered a range of tactics and weaponry. Tactical squads are the most commonly fielded squad types in a chapter. A tactical squad is led by a sergeant and includes 9 other Space Marines. Of these, 7 battle brothers are armed with bolters, whilst the remaining 2 can be armed with bolters, or, alternatively, one may carry a heavy weapon such as a missile launcher or a heavy bolter, and the other may carry a special weapon such as a flamer or meltargon. This combination is the most tactically flexible and offers a good mixture of capabilities within the squad. After serving in hundreds of campaigns and thousands of battles, and having conquered the very worst the galaxy has to throw at him, a Space Marine is likely to be considered a veteran. After serving in hundreds of campaigns and thousands of battles, and having conquered the very worst the galaxy has to throw at him, a Space Marine is likely to be considered a veteran. In most chapters, such an honor is not measured by the length of service, but in blood spilled, horrors overcome, and mighty deeds done. As a prelude to service in the elite First Company, many Space Marine veterans fulfill the role of sergeant, leading squads of all types in any of the other companies. Thus, many of the Space Marines of the Veteran Company will be battle-proven leaders as well as highly experienced warriors. The warriors of the Veteran Company are fielded in one of three squad types: Terminator Squads wear the uniquely powerful Terminator Armor, sometimes called Tactical Dreadnought Armor. This armored suit is massive in construction, virtually turning a Space Marine into a one-man tank. Every chapter has a limited number of Terminator armor suits, and each is an ancient artifact crafted many thousands of years ago. Terminators are less mobile than other Space Marines and are primarily used in starship boarding actions or in extreme close-quarters combat when heavy fire support cannot be easily brought to bear. So resilient is the armor that it is reputedly able to operate inside plasma reactors, within volcanoes, and inside highly irradiated areas of deep space. Legend has it that the armor can even survive the tread of a Titan. To wear an ancient suit of Terminator armor is one of the greatest honors to which a Space Marine can aspire. Each suite bears on its left shoulder the Crux Terminatus, the unique honor badge of the Terminator. Each crux is said to contain at its core a tiny fragment of the armor worn by the Emperor himself when he fought his final battle against the traitor War Master Horus, providing a direct link between the Space Marine and the father of mankind. Despite its obvious benefits, Terminator armor is not suitable for all missions. Most of the time, veterans take to the field wearing ordinary power armor, albeit a suit inscribed with many hundreds of battle honors as well as the Crux Terminatus. When wearing power armor, veterans are formed into Vanguard Veteran Squads or Stern Guard Veteran Squads. By dint of their rank, veterans have access to the most fearsome weaponry in the chapter's armory, including sacred blades and artificer-crafted combi weapons of uniquely masterful craftsmanship. The Vanguard Veteran Squads go to battle equipped with the most lethal of close combat weapons and often wear jump packs to bring them to bear before the enemy can even react. Stern Guard Veteran Squads carry a wide array of ranged weaponry and specialized ammunition, and are masters in its overwhelming application. Veteran Squads are rarely deployed en masse but are instead used to bolster the line, provide an unstoppable spear tip, or to act as a highly flexible and mobile reserve. Each of the chapter's 10 companies is led by an officer with the rank of captain. These leaders are second in experience only to the chapter master himself, and each is a warrior so deadly that he will rarely meet his match. Each captain is an inspirational and determined leader, able to coordinate the Space Marines under his command whatever the opposition. In addition to leading Space Marines in battle, each captain holds titles dependent on his other responsibilities with regard to the workings of the chapter or its home world, such as Master of the Fleet or Master of the Marches. Of the 1,000 awesome and terrifying warriors that comprise a Space Marine chapter, there is but one chapter master, a leader with centuries of experience in the very crucible of battle. His own fighting skills will be unsurpassed, whether in the use of a gun, blade, or bare hands. His very rank speaks of a past littered with the bodies of bloodied, beaten foes of the most terrifying and inhuman sort. It is not enough, however, for the chapter master to be its foremost warrior. He must also be a superb tactician, grounded in the teachings of the Codex Astar-tees and honed through countless decisions made in the maelstrom of close action. His warriors are also his brothers, and he knows that they will give their lives at his command. He must preserve these magnificent troops, but must also accomplish his mission and uphold the honor of his chapter. He will be steeped in the lore of his chapter and be sworn to keep its secrets, and must conduct his diplomacy accordingly, for Space Marines maintain a web of time-proven oaths and honor debts and do not simply heed the commands of Imperial functionaries, no matter how impressive the title. Those who wish a chapter master to send his warriors into battle must give him good reason to do so. In addition to this, the chapter master will often be the ruler of his chapter homeworld, a resource that is too valuable for him to ignore. Amongst the greatest risks facing a chapter master is the very power he wields, for a chapter of Space Marines is a force capable of devastating entire worlds at his order. It is an Astar-tees very power that can lead to hubris. And it is hubris that can so easily condemn even a Space Marines sold to damnation, as those dedicated to the protection of mankind may come to believe they should rule it instead. Post-Ultima founding progression. The above scheme of Space Marine chapter organization has been revised in the years since the birth of the Great Rift. The alterations made to the Codex Astar-tees by the resurrected Primarch Robert Guilliman and the introduction of the Primaris Space Marines into the Adeptus Astar-tees. As before, the organization of a Space Marine chapter in the wake of the Ultima founding of the Primaris Marines comprises 1,000 battle brothers. In comparison to the teeming multitudes of the Emperor's original Space Marine legions, this is few indeed, yet history has proven time and time again that such an elite gathering of martial strength can conquer star systems and even alter the fate of the galaxy itself. After the resurrection of Robert Guilliman in ca. 999 M41 and his restoration as the ruling Lord Commander of the Imperium, the Codex Astar-tees was revised for the new era of the Dark Imperium that began with the birth of the Great Rift. Under the revised organizational scheme, each of the 10 companies of a chapter still boasts 100 warriors, led by a captain, a veteran of countless wars, and now often 2 lieutenants as sub-company leaders. A company is still organized into 10 squads of 10 Space Marines, each led by a sergeant. However, the guidelines in Guilliman's updated codex provide for up to 20 squads of 5 battle brothers. Furthermore, recent precepts allow for each battle company to be reinforced with auxiliary warriors. These additional squads are reassigned from the reserve companies. Of the 10 companies, the first still consists of the chapter's most experienced veterans and is, therefore, the most powerful. The veterans of the first company are still trained to fight in Terminator Armor. It is extremely rare for the veteran company to be deployed en masse. Its units normally take to the field alongside the chapter's battle companies. The revised Codex Astar-tees decrees that the 2nd, 3rd, 4th, and 5th companies are designated battle companies, and generally carry the weight of the chapter's combat duties. Battle companies consist of at least 6 battle line squads, 2 close support squads, and 2 fire support squads. Assault squads, a type of close support squad, may be deployed as bike squads or landspeeder crews and, just as with their fire support brethren known as Devastators, may take to battle as Centurion warsuit pilots. Most Space Marine deployments will consist of a single battle company, reinforced by elements of the veteran, scout and reserve companies as needed. The reserve companies are entirely composed of squads of the same designation. They normally act in support of the battle companies and provide a source of replacements for any casualties suffered by the frontline formations. The 6th and 7th companies are battle line companies, each consisting of between 10 and 20 of the different types of battle line squads. The 6th company also trains in the use of assault bikes and may be deployed entirely as bike squads. Similarly, squads of the 7th company are trained to fight with landspeeders and storm talons, often acting as a light vehicle reserve formation. The 8th company is the close support company and consists of 10 to 20 close support squads. It is most often used in an invasion role, or wherever a strong hand-to-hand fighting force is needed. The 9th Company is the fire support company, consisting of 10 to 20 fire support squads. It is the most heavily equipped company in the chapter, and its heavy cannon-toting Astar-tees provide unparalleled fire support to their more lightly equipped comrades. The 10th Company is still made up entirely of Scout Marines, new recruits whose physical transformation and training is incomplete. The Codex Astar-tees now dictates no formal size for the 10th Company, as the rate of recruitment is not fixed. All companies, except the Scout Company, maintain a fleet of Rhino, Razorback and Repulsor armored transports. The Veteran Company also has a permanent complement of Land Raiders of different patterns and Storm Raven gunships for carrying Terminators into the heart of the battle. A chapter's other armored vehicles form a pool, maintained by the armory, that captains can draw upon. Many companies also include a number of dreadnoughts of different patterns, including the Primaris Redemptor dreadnought, which remains a part of the company in which they served before being interred in the cybernetic sarcophagus. Every Space Marine chapter also still includes a number of officers and specialists as before, who provide essential battlefield support, spiritual leadership, psychic capability, and destructive combat prowess. These individuals are collectively known as the headquarters staff and include apothecaries, chaplains, librarians, ancients, and tech marines. Over all of these mighty warriors still presides the chapter master, elevated from the greatest of the chapter's captains. He alone is responsible for the deeds of the chapter and answers directly to the administratum. Chapter masters may select an honor guard that are in addition to the company role, although not all chapter masters choose to do so. Bonds of Brotherhood. A Space Marine has 3 levels of interaction that shapes who he is, the overall chapter views and beliefs, the battle doctrine and mindset of his battle company, and the individual bonds he forges with his squad mates with whom he fights side by side. The chapter, the first bond that all Space Marines share, is the bond that makes them part of the chapter. This is coded into the flesh through the gene seed they all share, dating back to the Prime Arch. Even chapters of the subsequent foundings share this trait, no matter how far they are removed from the lineage of their progenitor. The beliefs and combat doctrine of the chapter for most is rooted in the Codex Astar-tees, the tome of tactics and strategy created by Robert Guilliman after the Horus Heresy. It is at the chapter level that the command structure, battle doctrine, and many inherent beliefs are created for the Space Marine. A member of the Space Wolves knows that it is his duty to take the battle to the foes of the Emperor directly, bringing death with sword and bolter in close quarters. The same cannot be said of an Iron Hand, who favors dealing death from afar with master-crafted weaponry and war machines. The belief structure created by the chapter becomes everything to the battle brother. Many initiates come from feudal or feral worlds, who know nothing of the Imperium and the greater universe, so it is through their indoctrination into the chapter that everything they know of the galaxy is taught. If the librarians and chaplains of the chapter teach these young men that they must entreat the machine spirits to make the bolters fire and the starships traverse the void of space, many do not think any differently, and this will become simple fact to the aspirant. Another chapter will teach his brethren the intricate ways of maintaining their weaponry and how the Imperium actually works and functions. These wildly disparate views on the basic structures of the universe around them can lead to interesting interactions when Astar-tees of different chapters must work together. The company. Once an aspirant has become a Space Marine, he is placed into a company. At the company level, a Space Marine learns the deeper structure of how he will fight the enemies of mankind. The Codex Astar-tees outlines the progression of each battle brother through the companies of the chapter and what skills he shall gain during his tenure in each. According to the Codex Astar-tees, a battle brother progresses from a scout marine of the 10th Company to a devastator of the 9th Company, then on to an assault marine of the 8th Company. Once a Space Marine has mastered the many ways in which he is capable of making war, only then is he ready to enter the tactical squads of his chapter's battle and reserve companies. Space Marine companies often have many ancient traditions and rites based on their past battles and achievements. These become very important to the battle brother and will greatly influence him. For example, a member of the Blood Ravens' 5th Company, who lost many of his brothers in a prolonged campaign against the Eldar, may observe an annual rite commemorating the sacrifices made to bring about victory. Missing this observance, if not in an active battle situation, could bring about a sense of melancholy and shame to the battle brother, who feels he is not properly honoring his fallen comrades. The squad. The most intimate bonds are amongst the battle brothers of the Space Marines squad. Day in and day out, these hardened warriors fight alongside each other for the glory of the Emperor and the Imperium. With each battle, the members of the squad become more ingrained in the ways of battle and how to rely on each other in any circumstance. It is within a squad, and that can be tactical, assault, devastator, or scout squad, that the Astar-tees has spent the most time. If he leaves his squad for another, to begin his tenure with the Death Watch, or for some other reason, he must leave a part of himself behind, and learn how to function on a whole new level as part of a new team. Relations with the Astra Military, also known as Imperial Guard. The Astra Military, known colloquially as the Imperial Guard, is composed of men and women possessed of unquenchable faith in the God Emperor of mankind, but they are still ultimately mortals of flesh and blood. To the common troopers, the superhuman Space Marines of the Adeptus Astar-tees are as gods walking amongst men, and for most of the common people of the Imperium, including the troops of the Imperial Guard, they are a rare sight indeed. Most Astra Military troopers will never see a Space Marine, let alone fight alongside one, and as such they are the subjects of all manner of legends, myths, and superstitions. Different Imperial cultures, and the Imperial Guard regiments drawn from them, have their own beliefs about Space Marines. Some hold them in admiration as the literal sons of the Emperor, whilst others fear them as the deliveries of the Emperor's divine judgment. While it is true that a Space Marine can spit acid, in their ignorance many claims they can also kill with a glance or rout an army with a single word. Tales abound of small groups of Space Marines conquering entire planets or holding off wave after wave of slavering Xenos fiends. Some chapters, in particular the Ultramarines, are lionized across the Imperium. Others, such as the Blood Drinkers, inspire dread. Any Imperial Guard trooper, or any other mortal for that matter, finding himself in the presence of a Space Marine is likely to drop to his knees in abject supplication, so potent is the martial bearing of a battle brother of the Adeptus Astar-tees. Even senior Imperial Guard officers might find themselves stammering like newly commissioned subalterns when conversing with a Space Marine. In the main, most Space Marines barely notice mere mortals, and it takes a great and rare man indeed to earn their respect. Rumors of their presence in a war zone can often generate great excitement amongst Imperial Guardsmen, but such rumors often prove to be false. An encounter with a single squad of Space Marines is a legendary encounter for the mortals of the present-day Imperium. Even those mortals who are themselves pledged to the Emperor's service and will result in hushed tales of or told around the tables of the officers' mess for many Terran years to come. Primaris Space Marines. The Primaris Space Marines are a new breed of transhuman warriors developed across the span of 10,000 standard years by Archmagos Dominus Belisarius Call on Mars on the order of Primarch Robert Guilliman. Call used the genetic template of the original Space Marines created by the Emperor for his Great Crusade as the starting point for the development of the new Astar-tees soon after the second founding in the early 31st millennium. Primaris Space Marines are bigger, more physically powerful, and possess faster reaction times than their original Astar-tees counterparts. For 10 millennia, Archmagos Dominus Belisarius Cawl has been working on a task set for him by the Primarch Robert Guilliman before he was mortally wounded by the demon Primarch Fulgrim in the days after the Horus Heresy, a new legion of transhuman warriors. Developed on orders from Guilliman 100 standard centuries past, Primaris Space Marines were diligently developed and perfected by the priesthood of Mars during the long intervening millennia. As an optimist, but never a fool, Guilliman learned from the mistakes of the Horus Heresy, and he foresaw that the forces of chaos would never relent in their aim to bring the Imperium low. He anticipated that devastating times would once again engulf the galaxy and knew that warriors resilient enough to stand against them would be needed as never before. That time has surely come. Now, as the Imperium of Man is poised on the brink of annihilation at the hands of chaos, his task is at last complete. The Primaris Space Marine is a new generation of hero for this, the darkest age in the Imperium's history. These warriors are the next step in the evolution of the Emperor's Angels of Death, genetically altered from the Brethren to be bigger, stronger and faster, timely reinforcements for the Imperium's armies as their enemies close in for the kill in the wake of Abaddon the Despoiler's 13th Black Crusade and the birth of the Great Rift dividing the Imperium in two. Aid them in battle. These gene-forged warriors are equipped with new arms and armor forged on Mars itself, such as the Mark X Tacticus pattern power armor worn by the Primaris Space Marine intercessors, which combines the most effective elements of ancestral Horus Heresy patterns of battle-plate with more recent developments in power armor technology. The Mark II Cawl pattern bolt rifle, the archetypal firearm of the Adeptus Astar-tees, now re-engineered, recrafted and perfected. The Mark III Belisarius pattern plasma incinerator, a new refined plasma gun, Redemptor dreadnoughts, the Overlord gunship, and repulsor grav tanks. At the dawn of the Indomitus Crusade to retake the Imperium from the advancing armies of Chaos and Xenos alike, Lord Commander of the Imperium Robert Guilliman has gathered his new armada, along with elements of the Adeptus Custodes, a small contingent of the Silent Sisterhood and a vast war host of Primaris Space Marines as he fights to liberate the scattered bastions of the Imperium. Some, Guilliman has forged into new Space Marine chapters, whole brotherhoods comprised only of these new transhuman warriors. Others he has offered to the existing Space Marine chapters. Many chapter masters have welcomed the Primaris brethren into their ranks, accepting the new reinforcements gladly. Others, though, view these new creations with suspicion or outright hostility, claiming that the Emperor's work should never have been meddled with by mere mortals. The newly reinstated Lord Commander of the Imperium has decreed that those chapters most devastated by the ongoing wars should be amongst the first to be reinforced with this new breed of transhuman warrior, starting with the Ultramarines, but also deploying these new Space Marines to every other chapter in need. Guilliman aims to reinforce the Imperium's scattered defenders across the galaxy. It is not just as reinforcements to existing chapters, though. Guilliman has also ordered the creation of a host of new chapters, the so-called Ultima Founding, composed entirely of Primaris Space Marines. The warriors of these new chapters were created entirely using the new processes discovered by Archmagos Belisarius Cawl and established with all the necessary weapons, armor and equipment that they will need to conduct the defense of the Imperium. These chapters still trace the genetic lineage back to the gene seed of the first founding, and scions of all 9 loyalist Space Marine legions emerged from the vaults beneath the Red Planet. They benefit from 3 additional gene seed organs and larger size, but it still remains to be seen if Cawl was able to successfully stabilize any of the known genetic deviations or impart any additional resistance to the effects of chaos. Many of these new chapters have been assigned homeworlds on the edge of the Great Rift, the Imperium's new frontline in the war against chaos, though some have inherited the empty fortress monasteries of chapters that had been lost to the attrition of constant war. Many of these worlds face a continuous battle against the demons of the warp, as well as an unpredictable mix of Xenos, raiders, pirates and invaders. Though they are a step removed from the Brothers, the Primaris Space Marines still bear the gene seed of their Primarchs, and some dissenting voices worry how this new type of warrior will react with the known genetic quirks and flaws of some of the more unusual chapters, such as the Blood Angels and the Space Wolves. The Primaris Space Marines offer new hope for besieged Imperium, but the future remains a dark and uncertain place. Space Marine Armor. Scout Armor. Scout Armor is a lighter, less encumbering version of standard Imperial carapace armor often used by elite Imperial Guard troops like Stormtroopers or Kaskan that offers excellent protection while at the same time being extremely well suited for stealth and skirmishing missions. In most Codex Astar-tees compliant chapters, neophyte Space Marines, Scout Marines, serve in the 10th Company as scouts for the first assignment. Scouts are placed under the instruction of an experienced scout sergeant, who both takes command of the squad and teaches the scouts what it means to be a Space Marine. This type of armor is usually only worn by Scout Marines. Since the black carapace has yet to mature, they are still unable to interface with standard Space Marine power armor, so are instead allowed to wear a suit consisting of carbon titanium composite plates. Scout armor is still capable of stopping the majority of small arms fire. In times of relative peace, full battle brothers of certain chapters may take to wearing Scout armor during periods outside of battle. Power armor. Possibly the most prominent feature of the Space Marines is their power armor, which is a synthesis of many technologies that predate even the Age of Strife, stretching back into the Dark Age of technology. The suit is comprised of multiple custom-crafted ceramite plates with armored fiber bundles and servos that replicate the wearer's movements and enhances a Space Marine's already superhuman strength, as well as allowing them to easily withstand brutal attacks that would rip a normal human apart. The armor itself can also act as a self-containing environment from the suit's owner, protecting the Space Marine from multiple hostile surroundings, including the dark vacuum of deep space and the most toxic planetary environments that the universe can provide. The armor interacts with the Space Marine's nervous system through the black carapace, a subcutaneous membrane grown beneath the skin following gene seed implantation that allows the Astar-tees' internal organs and nervous system to interface directly with the suit of power armor, so that the armor, in essence, becomes literally an extension of the wearer's body. The most current Space Marine power armor model is the Mark 7 or Aquila Patin. The Mark 7 remains the most common suit of power armor in use by the Space Marine chapters in the late 41st millennium. However, it is not uncommon for parts of older power armor patterns to be used to replace damaged areas of a Mark 7 suit, as this saves precious resources. An example of this type of retrofitting is that some Astar-tees are known to have rivets on certain parts of their power armor. These pieces are actually derived from the ancient Mark II Crusade pattern armor that dates back to the time of the Great Crusade over 10 standard millennia ago. These patched suits of power armor protect their wearers just as well as their updated counterparts, since the only real change in power armor patterns over the last 10,000 Terran years have been to the armor's myriad auxiliary systems. What few know is that each Space Marine's suit of power armor is so specific to its wearer that it cannot be worn by two different Space Marines without alterations. So precious is his ancient suit of armor that each Space Marine swears solemn oaths to honor and maintain its individual machine spirit and the memories of all the honored Astar-tees who have worn that particular suit over the generations. Terminator Armor. Tactical Dreadnought Armor, more commonly called Terminator Armor, turns an Astar-tees into a nigh unstoppable force of destruction. These exceedingly rare suits of power armor are the superlative form of individual protection in Space Marine armories and enable a battle brother to unleash firepower rivaling that of most combat vehicles. Developed during the final days of the Great Crusade, the Imperium has long since lost the technical knowledge required to manufacture these suits, and so every single one is a priceless artifact of the Imperium's lost golden age. Terminator armor is only deployed on the most dangerous missions and only to Astar-tees veterans who have proven themselves worthy of wearing the Crux Terminatus, the icon found on the left shoulder of every suit of Terminator armor. Each one of these honor badges is said to contain a fragment of the Emperor's own armor from his final battle with the traitor Horus during the Battle of Terror. Terminator armor was developed for a mid-range of uses between a true cybernetic dreadnought and standard power armor. It is composed of a ceramite, plasteel alloy exoskeleton with servo-assisted interfaces that link into the user's own neurological and muscular systems to enhance movement. Terminator armor's heavy layers of protective alloys can deflect even the heaviest bombardments. In addition, the Crux Terminatus on every Terminator's shoulder plate serves as a psychic ward capable of turning aside attacks from power weapons, melter fire, and even the baleful energies of the warp. It is able to withstand tremendous punishment and serves as a solid heavy weapons platform in open-field combat. Due to its size, it is best deployed in close quarters such as the corridors of a starship, where the armor's standard-issue storm bolter can be most effective. The elite first company of each Space Marine chapter uses Terminator armor, and only those Astar-tees who have earned the Crux Terminatus are permitted to wear this precious and irreplaceable piece of Imperial technology. Artificer Armor. This armor is the name given to individualized and heavily modified suits of power armor provided only to Space Marines who have proven themselves worthy of the honor, such as company captains, members of the Chapter Master's Honor Guard, or particularly skilled veterans of the First Company or the various company command squads. Painstakingly cared for and customized for each esteemed bearer, Artificer Armor is the rarest form of power armor, even more so than Terminator armor. The technology and super-dense materials used to construct these suits are unparalleled inside the Imperium. Each one is a masterwork of artificer ingenuity and, outside of tech marines laboring towards their own, is awarded only to true chapter heroes. Artificer armor is always master-crafted. In addition to the effects of standard Astar-tees power armor, the advanced helmet incorporates a mind impulse unit, similar to those used by the members of the Collegia Titanica to control their massive Titan war engines. Some suits incorporate even more unusual features, such as automated fiber reweaving, eliminating the need for repair cement to seal most breaches in the armor after combat. Only countless hours of labor at the blazing Space Marine forges by chapters artificers or tech marines gives rise to a suite of Artificer Armor. It is said that Artificer Armor can almost provide the equivalent protection as Terminator Armor. Artificer Armor cannot, however, make use of weapons as powerful as those available to Astar-tees in Terminator Armor.